Welcome to video number 6. We're going to talk about segmenting your lists. The reason why we want to segment your list is so that you have a good idea of exactly what categories people fall into. For example, you can segment people into customers and possibly non-customers. Or maybe you could segment them into active versus inactive. Or they've been active, very active versus somewhat active. You could also segment them in terms of demographics and country, location, and a lot more. Because if you think about it, if you're able to segment your list, you will be able to provide exactly what somebody wants. And if you can provide that to somebody, then they will be happy and most likely they will take action. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this specific video and also show you how to do. So before I actually show you how to segment a list, I've opened up this Excel spreadsheet here, and you can take a look at the different ways that you can segment a list. You can segment it from sign up dates, country, region, city, country, postal code, continent, and time zone. And this is good information to know, especially if you want to email certain people in a certain location at a certain time. Now, GetResponse actually has a system which will allow you to email them during their time zone. I can't really say that about other autoresponder systems, but that's something that's a plus with GetResponse. Now, if we go over here to GetResponse, to access this area, basically just go to the dashboard, click on Contacts, and click on Search Contacts. It's basically the same thing I showed earlier, except instead of backing up the lists, we're going to save the segment as. Now, what you can do is by segmenting, you're creating a list that's very specific. The more specific, the better, because if you can figure out exactly what somebody wants, you can actually segment by different lists or by the general list. But what I would do is I would choose a campaign, and then I would actually segment from that point. Now, in terms of what you can segment, if you click on this drop down menu here, you can choose different fields and do different searches and conditions and then segment from that point. So if you had a custom field, you can do that. You can do by geolocation, by goals. If you have collected that actual data, you can do by subscription date, subscription method, last autoresponder date, last newsletter date, last open date. So you can get some people who've been on your list for a long time, who have been active. You can segment that. You can segment by message opened. You can segment by the date range, all the time, the last 30 days. And for example, like I showed you with the suppression versus the blacklist list, you can simply, let's say for example, the first 30 days. With the suppression list, we don't want to email anyone who has signed up in the last 30 days to prevent annoying them. Because too many emails depends on your tests, it can vary, but if you hammer them with too many emails with the autoresponder messages and the broadcast messages, then you could actually get more unsubscribes that way. So maybe you want to segment that into a suppression list. So I'm just giving you some ideas here. You can do all the time, custom range. We can choose, let's say from 2011, November 2011 to November 2012. So we could do something like that and create a segmentation for that list. But basically, once you're done and you're ready to go, what I like about GetResponse is it actually tells you how many contacts fit that specific range. And of course, when you're ready to create a segment for that list, all you have to do is enter the name of the segment. And I'd highly advise you create some sort of system where you remember what the segment is. Maybe a date and with a campaign or the type of contacts. And then click on Save Segment, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, before I move to Aweber, another thing you can do is you can add conditions group. So this would be a condition. You could say custom date range from November 1st to November 30th, or and. So if you do an and, that means that this has to be a condition, this date range, and then perhaps they subscribed at a certain date. Or means either or, this one or this one. And then that gives you the ability to add new conditions if you choose to do so. And you can click on remove to remove the conditions. So that's how to create segmentations and basically narrow things down a bit. Now with Aweber, if you go to subscribers and click on manage subscribers, then you can actually do the same thing. But with Aweber, what I found is they do provide you with a lot more fields. As you can see here, you can see name, ad tracking, additional notes, last message number, stopped status, date last followed up, date confirmed, country, city, and so forth. In fact, the Excel spreadsheet that I showed you earlier was actually from Aweber. So Aweber allows you to create a lot more different segmentations. And you could say phone number that begins with such and such, city, you choose city and then enter the city, date, added, and so forth. So once you have done a search, you want to click on search, and then you can save as segment. So that's how to save a segment. And then of course you can change the conditions as how you want to. That's it. That's how to segment a list and create segments. I'd highly recommend that you start out with a few segments and then just test it out, see how it works. If it works well, test it further. But there really is no one-size-fits-all solution. So that's why I recommend testing it out and see what works for you.